defense because the team that's going to be able to control the line of scrimmage is going to give themselves a big chance to win. And for me, that's the Philadelphia Eagles. Clearly, when you look at their personnel, even though their offensive line hasn't played the way that we thought they would coming into this game, I still feel like their personnel is good enough to be able to get this offense back on track. Now, Lane Johnson just got added to the injury report. He's got an ankle that he's dealing with, and he hasn't been playing well. But I think this could be the get-right game for the Philadelphia Eagles because they're going to be forced to rely on the run game. They can't get too cute with the bad weather. I think Doug Peterson will play things close to the cuff, not put too much on Carson Wentz, but allow him the freedom to be able to make the plays that are there to be made against this Giants defense because they're a suspect group. They are getting back Olivier Vernon, which should help. But again, when you look at this Giants defense, they have allowed some big plays on them as well. So I look at the Philadelphia Eagles and I say, if this team is a playoff caliber team, and we all believe it is, then this is a game that they've got to win.
You mentioned Lane Johnson being out of the injury report. Maybe one of the reasons he's played so poorly the last few weeks is because he's been dealing with an injury that we just didn't know about, that they didn't disclose.
And he didn't do a Ben Roethlisberger and be like, oh, you know something? That's why my PFF grade.
No, exactly right. And so, I mean, it makes sense. So not having him, I know they would probably just slide Vaitai over to play right tackle there like they did when Jason Peters was out last year at the left tackle spot. But we've also seen Vaitai, when he's had to play this year, that he's a guy that, I mean, he really played well when he had to during that run last year, but we've seen since then why he was a swing tackle, a backup tackle. I think the addition of Olivier Vernon's huge. I think if it is a bad weather game, and it should be, that oddly could benefit the Giants a bit. I think it could neutralize some of the Eagles' speed defensively on the defensive line, and I think the Giants have a better rushing attack than Philadelphia. I think Saquon Barkley is more likely to make something work on the ground than, who's going to be the Eagles' starting running back tonight? Is it Corey Clement? Is it Wendell Smallwood? It's Corey Clement. And so in that regard, I think the weather could actually benefit a New York Giants team that is coming off its best offensive game of the season.
To me, two huge questions. If you want to put the game, let's put the game on the defense. Which defense do you trust? I trust the Eagles' defense, their front seven. I know their back end has struggled. I believe Jalen Mills will play better. OBJ cannot. I don't see a path to victory without him having a huge game. I don't see them winning unless he has 150 yards. Now, he's played the Eagles 8 times since he's been in the league. He's 1-7. Now, a lot of these battles have been tough, but he hadn't won an awful lot. So look for the little blonde-haired kid, the quote machine, Little Wayne's little interview buddy. He needs a big game because we talked all week, how do you make things go away? How do you do bad interviews? How do you say things about teammates? Play like a superstar. That's what makes things go away and be better. So from a quarterback, I trust Carson Wentz in bad weather more than Eli Manning. The Giants have not been able to throw the ball deep. How are they going to do that in this game? So those are things going into this game I'm watching. I believe in the quarterback more. I believe in the Eagles defense more. That's why I like the Eagles in tonight's game.
Canty, when I said the bad weather could neutralize a bit of the Eagles defensive line, I saw your face squinch up. So I think you disagree. So I just wanted to hear your...
What's good for the goose got to be good for the gander. I mean, you look at the Eagles defensive line. You said getting Olivier Vernon back for the Giants is going to be big. Well, I mean, the weather is probably going to affect him, too, in terms of being able to get off the ball and rush the quarterback. But you talked about the Giants' run game and Saquon Barkley being able to get on track. I mean, if you look at his game last week, just the run game part of it, he had that 28-yard run, but you take away that, and he was averaging 2 yards a carry. So, I mean, I don't necessarily know that him being a factor in terms of the consistency in the ground game is going to be a part of the Giants' path to victory. Now, Corey Graham being out for the Eagles, that's going to be big. This is a defensive secondary. It's giving up a lot of big plays as well. Haloti Ngata sounds like he's going to be out as well, so we'll see what the Eagles do in terms of juggling the personnel on that defensive front. But one thing we do know, that's a very deep group. If any defensive line can make up for some of the losses that they have on the defensive side of the ball, it's that Philadelphia Eagles defensive group. So, I mean, this is a pivot point for both teams this season, but I have higher expectations for the Eagles coming in, and so that's probably why I'll roll with them tonight.
Doug Peterson came out earlier in the week and said, I want to see this team play with a bigger sense of urgency. I want to see what we play and the focus we have in practice carry over into an actual game. They are desperate The Giants are 1-4. If they don't win, their season's completely over. They are desperate. Which team needs this win more? Which is more desperate for a win?
I think that could the Eagles survive a loss here and still be alive for the NFC East? Yes. Could the Giants survive a loss? No. And I know you'd be like, well, the only 2 games back in the division, you don't come back from 1-5. You just don't. And the only way you do is if you were 1-5 because of horrible injury early and you're getting the guy back. You didn't have your quarterback. So if the Giants lose, their season's over. But if the Eagles lose tonight, I no longer consider them a Super Bowl caliber team. If they not because they can't make the playoffs, but because we'll be 40% of the way through the season, and who are you? What are you good at? If you can't go to the Giants, a team that is struggling, a team that isn't very good, a team that you do have a gigantic advantage of your D-line versus their offensive line, and win that game, then you're not the team I thought you were coming into the season.
This is a potential statement game for the Eagles, and you're right. I mean, we are going to have to question. I still think they can get to the Super Bowl because it's a game of matchups. Like when you get to who's got those 2 byes in the NFC, who's got those wild card matchups, who's healthy. Like the Eagles are still one of the most talented teams when we get to the end of the season. It'd be no different than Atlanta struggling and then making the playoffs. No different than Carolina. All these teams are really, really talented, and if they have a franchise quarterback, you get in the tournament, you're going to have a chance. But today could be the day they could just drop it and be like, you know something, we ain't going no further than this. This could be our desperation game. This could be our statement game. This could be the game that turns around our season. Every team has one. Let's just see if the Eagles, if it is tonight against the G-Men.
Yeah, it's turn up or get ready to schedule to have your cards picked up for the end of the season. Because, I mean, that's really what you're faced with both of these teams. But with the Philadelphia Eagles, you look at how they match up against the Giants and how they match up against most people. They match up well just because they have a really good offensive and defensive line that's capable of playing a physical style of football. And in inclement weather, that's the brand of football that I trust.
Chris Canty, thank you so much. Great insight today. Got to take a break. Coming up, why is the Cowboys receiver throwing Dak and his coaches under the bus? Or is he really saying something else? That's next on First Things First.